fantastic finishes have kept hope alive for two teams whose visions of a dream season almost came to a halt. This Saturday, the drive for perfection faces its toughest tests in Tempe and Gainesville. The Sun Devils again were the mark of the hunted as conference foe USC takes aim in Tempe. And in the Swamp, it's the Tigers' turn to try to bump the Gators from the ranks of the unbeaten. The weekend kicks off here next. Oh, it's that time. The third Saturday in October. The foliage turning, the pumpkins waiting to be carved and then smashed. For once, the third Saturday in October does not mean the balls and the tie. That's next week with plenty of big games to talk about. Welcome to the Weekend Kickoff Show. Chris Fowler along with Lee Corso and Kirk Herbstreit. I will answer now the most asked question of me lately. Yes, Kirk is single.
Oh,
sort of.
Nice. Take a little
well, everybody wants to know, Kirk. I'm sorry. And to speak of the questions, another test for Arizona State. They've survived already 2 scares in the Pac-10. ASU welcomes the team that humiliated them last year, 31-0. USC. Despite a couple of awful efforts, the Trojans will still greet Jake Plummer with the #1 defense in the conference against the pass and #1 overall. The offense has been another matter. Former Trojan great, he knows about good offenses there. Lynn Swan joins us. Swanee, what's been the problem with the USC offense? Shut out against Cal a couple weeks ago?
Well, I just think this offense at USC never got in sync. They had a bad start to the season against Penn State, receivers dropping balls. Brad Otten had to be the man in charge and in control. And he came out and he was not the man that led them to a victory in the Rose Bowl last year. And he's got to reach that level again week in and week out for this U.S. team and their offense to be consistent. And then all the distractions, the players who are being held out for the shoe deal, etc. I mean, these things just do not allow you to get a rhythm. Too many people coming in and out of the offense.
Meanwhile, for the Sun Devils, some sad news. Michael Martin, their leading rusher, a season-ending injury out of last week's ballgame.
Yeah, I just found out today that he has a cracked vertebrae. He is out for the season. Obviously, they're going to miss him, but the real leader of their football team is Jake Plummer. Now, here's a young man who's got 16 touchdowns. He's only thrown 3 interceptions. You look at him physically on the field, and he's leading this football team. But leadership is his #1 asset, I believe. The fact that he brings in the offensive line every time he has a press conference. The fact that he talks about throwing a block to the wide receiver, and when he has to snake down the field and they're trying to come back against UCLA, the receivers out there blocking for him. They like this kid. They love him. They want him to be successful. He will lead this team, and they will be very, very good come Saturday afternoon.
All right, Lynn, thanks. Look forward to the ball game with you and Bob and Keith from Tempe. Michael Martin, you heard Lynn mention it. Very sad story. The grandmother of the woman who raised him passed away last week. Even in his grief, Michael decided to play the ball game against UCLA, injured his neck, went home for the funeral, came back and had that x-ray and found out that it was a season-ending neck injury. So he loses the one very dear to him and the sport that meant so much to him. He may be able to return if they do play in a bowl game. Meanwhile, Bruce Snyder, he had hoped last week that the UCLA game would answer a lot of questions about his defense, but Kirk, it really didn't.
No, not at all. Arizona State, they're probably off to their best start since 1982. But the thing you have to understand here with this team, they're a team that tries to get better and better. Few areas that are concerned. The #1 thing is they're giving up 395 yards last week against UCLA to go with 3 touchdowns through the air. They're not really playing good man-to-man coverage. Here you see Marcus Soward giving up a touchdown last week. Now, in this football game, look for USC to come out with Brad Otten going deep and off him. But I think playing at home, biggest crowd maybe ever at Tempe Stadium, I think really Jake the Snake will be the difference in this football game.
Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast. This year, Arizona State has been given up. They've given up 103 points in 3 Pac-10 games. And they've given up an average of 240 yards passing and 10 touchdown passes. Now, I don't care what you guys said. That's not good. I know, that's not good at all. Now, watch Brad Otten to come out, as he said, throwing the football, but I think he'll come out throwing ball control passes. Last week, he threw the ball so effectively, they had the ball 35 minutes against Arizona. Here he goes deep against Illinois earlier in the season. Important fact here, in the past 3 years, UCLA has won more Pac-10 games, 20, than any other team in the Pac-10. They will not be intimidated in Tempe, so therefore, I think Arizona State is still thinking UCLA, Nebraska. Bruce Snyder's talking about the great chemistry. Forget it, my friends. UCLA in an upset over Arizona State.
USC. I agree, SC won't be intimidated, but I also think Brad Otten's not mobile. The offensive line is patchwork, giving up 16 sacks. Look out, Derek Rogers and company.
Upset.
You got it. That's one of the games you can see at 3:30. Regional coverage on ABC. Ohio State, some unrest there. Orlando Pace kicked out of practice. Kirk, Buster Tillman, perhaps benched.
Yeah, Buster Tillman proudly on the pine. Look for David Boston, true freshman, to step up big time for Ohio State.
Tech a favorite at Clemson. We'll talk about Nebraska coming up. Meanwhile, at the Swamp, Auburn, the next candidate for Gator bait there. If not for Terry's Tigers, Florida would have an amazing 32-game winning streak in the SEC. As it is, they won a pretty amazing 17 in a row. Auburn arrives as a 3-touchdown underdog, the biggest margin ever in the program's modern era. It's been a wild series ever since Terry Bowden arrived. The winning team has averaged 36 points the last 3 years. Spurrier's team 2 years ago ranked number 1, 18-point favorite. Auburn comes in, and Frankie Sanders catches the game-winning touchdown. They shocked the Gators. Payback came last year at Auburn. After a 10-zip Tiger lead, Danny Werfel got untracked. He started 1 for 9. He finished up 19 of 25. Wham! 28 straight points. Bowden's first home loss. Unstoppable Florida. They got payback last year, but still, that loss 2 years ago is on their mind as they come home against Auburn. The fun and guns kind of become the fun and run. They come off the best rushing effort in the Spurrier era.
Well, you know, Florida has excellent offensive balance. Again, example against LSU last week, they had 308 yards running. They had 327 yards passing. They're tremendous when it comes to balance. And for the first time in 12 years, the Gators had 2 rushers go over 100 yards each. They can score. They average over 38 points a game, but the Gators are explosive. They scored 4 touchdowns in 8 minutes last week against LSU. Florida wins this one by 22 and a half.
22 and a half.
Yeah, 22 and a half.
Well, I think it's obvious in this football game. Florida, they don't have a game plan trying to stop Florida's defense. You really don't think they can. I think the thing they want to do is try and score with the Florida Gators. That means quarterback Damian Craig is going to have a big day Saturday for the Auburn Tigers. Take a look at Damian. Last week versus Mississippi State, Craig set his new school record with 394 yards and tied a school record with 4 touchdowns through the air. Now he's proven that he can run the ball in the pass. This year he's showing he can throw. But Damian, I know it's a big game, but shh, don't talk so much. I mean, you're getting ready to take on the Florida Gators. All this week, some jibber-jabber, talking a lot. You're going up against the #1 team in the country. You don't say that they're untested. You don't say that we're going to test this defense. You just kind of tiptoe in and get out of there.
Before they get you.
Yeah.
Untested. Who was Auburn beating? To call anybody else untested. Craig must play a perfect game. You're right. Bowden's going to come out and wing it. They're not going to try to play ball control. And Brother Oliver against Spurrier. Good duel of minds there. A lot more coming up on the weekend kickoff show. Darnell Autry, his 100-yard streak in jeopardy in Madison. The payback-minded Badgers take on Northwestern. And Nebraska, the Huskers are aroused and ready for the challenge of Texas Tech down in Lubbock. That's ahead.
In a world of change, who can you rely on? How about a company that millions already do? One of the world's largest insurance and investment groups, managing $300 billion in assets, 56,000 people in 23 countries. AXA. Here you already know us as the Equitable. AXA. Go ahead. You can rely on us.
Silver bullet, it's shipped cold to tap the clean taste of the Rockies. Good boy. The new Coors Light Wide Mouth can is here with a giant opening for a smoother pour.
Ooh, looks like McCulloch's been busy making more than chainsaws.
Are you kidding? Give me that. Let me see.
After 50 years of making America's premier chainsaw, McCulloch is ready to go to work all over the yard with McCulloch gas and electric blowers, McCulloch hedge trimmers, McCulloch gas and electric string trimmers, plus a complete line of affordable gas and electric yard equipment that's chainsaw tough. Put McCulloch to work all over your yard.
And people call us busy?
If you want more computer for your money, you gotta call us, the friendly folks at Gateway 2000.
Pick up the phone and give us a call.
Call now? Call now. Call now.
Kind of nervous.
Call now.
Grab the phone. Give us a call. Pick up.
Dial.
Dial.
Right now.
Gateway computers feature the Intel Pentium processor. So call 1-800-GATEWAY and ask for our free video. Call us today.
The Big Ten, you got to wait a while for all those bucket and barrel and tomahawk and bronze pig games, but these are all homecoming games. 4 of the 5 Big Ten games are homecoming. Indiana, the perennial homecoming opponent dating back to the Corso era. Meanwhile, Saturday at Camp Randall Stadium, it's the Badgers' Day of Atonement. Last year's debacle, 7 turnovers, set up an embarrassing loss at Northwestern. That should help them recover from that heartbreaking loss in Columbus last week. The focus on the Wildcats, Steve Schnurr and Dwayne Bates, because many believe, Lee, that if Darnell Autry's 100-yard streak ends, it could end right here on Saturday.
With good reason, my friend, with good reason, because before the Wisconsin game last week, Ohio State was averaging 310 yards on the ground. That's magnificent. But Wisconsin did a job on them. And did they ever do a job on them? They held them to 78 yards rushing. Darnell Autry and Northwestern love to run the football to win. Uh-oh, these guys are big, they're strong, and they're motivated. Watch out for Wisconsin up front. Now, Northwestern's road record is suspect, and let me tell you why. They lost to Wake Forest. They beat 2 basketball schools, Duke and Indiana, who have a combined record of 2-9. So watch out. Northwestern has dodged a bullet the last 2 weeks, but they get hit with a giant kielbasa. A kielbasa gets them into Wisconsin by 2 touchdowns, Wisconsin.
Wait a second. I understand. Last year, I think that's a good point about Northwestern kind of being one-dimensional with Darnell Autry and running the football. This year with Steve Schnurr, he has Dwayne Bates outside, Brian Musso, they get Beasley back. They now have 3 wide receivers they can throw the football to. They spread it out. So if the running game is not going Saturday, they still can throw it. But I think one of the keys in this game will be Wisconsin. Their zone blocking schemes going up against a Northwestern defense led by inside linebacker Pat Fitzgerald. Remember Pat Fitzgerald last year, really the emotional leader, coming back from a broken leg last year, regained his emotions in the Michigan game with 19 tackles. But numbers are not what Fitzgerald is all about. To me, he symbolizes truly what this turnaround year last year and this year is about. It's his heart. He really is a guy that plays with emotions. I think in this football game, playing in Camp Randall, very important for Gary Barnett to go up there in a hostile environment and get some of the purple magic going, because they're going to need turnovers and they're going to need to mix up the run and the pass because of that run defense.
Got to get kicker Brian Goins going. He missed 3 field goals and an extra point last week. Alvarez, a highly regarded coach, but keep this in mind: 0-3-3. The last 6 games decided by a touchdown or less. Everything you want to know about giant kielbasa, knockwurst, bratwurst. 12:30 following game day. Northwestern and Wisconsin should be a lot of fun in Big Ten country. Then, I guess it's arroz con pollo and fried plantain to the old Horseshoe in Little Havana, Miami, and East Carolina. It's game day at 11:30. Scoreboard shows at 3:30 and 10. Speaking of the Big Ten country, Iowa and Penn State get together at Happy Valley. Between the 2 coaches, 501 wins. Some concerns, though, for Penn State going into this ball game.
Well, Penn State's defense gave up 415 yards against Purdue, and Iowa's better than Purdue. They gave up over 200 yards on the ground against them. So watch Iowa to run the ball directly at Penn State and try to upset them that way. The main reason they'll do that is Iowa's offensive line averages 6'4", 277. That's 35 pounds heavier than the state front 7. Tavanian Banks right there is the key runner, the reason why he can go all the way. Now, this is my favorite of all the year. This is the annual AARP Bowl game. Hayden Fry is 67. Joe Paterno is 69. So I'm going with the young guy in this one. Iowa upsets them. I know I'm going to him, but Iowa upsets them. I want you to understand that the young guy upsets them. AARP. Wait a minute.
You got yours, right?
Don't knock it, man. You get free coffee. You get 10% off at some of these places. It's a nice...
You don't look old enough to have that card, Lee.
I am.
All right, with 2 starters who were affected by the PhoneGate scandal now back, Herschel Troutman and Mike Phillips, the Buffs visit the 816 area code in Lawrence, Kansas. Kansas left its calling card last year in Boulder, a 40-24 thumping, so the Buffs are in the payback mood. But Kansas, they have some other concerns here. A porous pass defense all of a sudden, and a run game that's kind of running around. June Henley owned 106 yards, I should say, in the last 2 ball games combined.
This is a blue liner right here, my friend. Since 1988, Colorado leads the nation with winning percentage on the road, 83%. Rick Neuheisel is 8-0 as a head coach on the road. The main reason he does that is because he keeps his team loose. He doesn't get them up tight. I like him. The game's played, obviously, in Lawrence, Colorado. Colorado by a touchdown and a safety.
Well, with those numbers. I think in this football game, for Kansas to have a chance at all playing at home, they got to get the running game going. As Chris mentioned, they're only averaging 53 yards a game in the last couple games. June Henley got off to a good start. It's been a little bit slow, but I think the reason Colorado wins this football game is their quarterback, Coy Detmer. He has quietly had an incredible year. He's thrown for over 1,500 yards on the year, 11 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. After that Michigan loss, they kind of went in the back burner, but Detmer is having a great year, and I think they're going up against the 87th pass defense in the nation. They're going to tear them apart.
One more road win would tie the school record at 9.
Good.
Meanwhile, it's Nebraska and Texas Tech down in Lubbock. It's been a spirited, tough week of practice for the Huskers. The coaches have been yelling. The players have been knocking into each other. They are looking forward to the challenge of stopping Byron Hanspard. You know, Baylor coach Chuck Reedy says if Hanspard can get 200 yards rushing on that defense, cancel the voting and send him the Heisman. These are the 1 and 2 ranked teams in rushing in the best rushing conference in the country, and also 2 very good rush defenses.
Yeah, it's really going to be an interesting game. I think if you go back to the Arizona State game, since that game, Nebraska, they were shut down in that ball game. Since then, they're averaging 436 yards a game on the ground, and consequently, they're outscoring their opponents 153-12. Very obvious. For Tech to stay in this football game, they have got to play good run defense. And this is the thing. They play 8 people up front each week. This week, they may put 8 or 9 just inside the box to take away that running game, or hope to. The quickness is really what they are hoping for. Number 9 rushing defense in the country, only allowing 78 yards a game. Now, I talked to the defensive coordinator today, and he said to keep it simple. When you go up against a team that has so many different looks, personnel looks, you have to keep things simple for your kids because you got the option, the power game, a lot to prepare for. Crowd that line of scrimmage and hope for the best, and hope that you make Scott Frost have to beat you.
Tech would have to be considered the favorite in that Southern Division of the Big 12.
Could be a preview.
It could be a preview of the ugliness in St. Louis. You could have a pretty good chance of having a team with 4 losses coming out of that Southern Division. Coming up on our weekend kickoff show, we'll check in with the Irish. Lou Holtz worried about Air Force. What else is new? We'll figure out if he should be worried. And also Alabama. They have real concerns on the defensive side of the ball for a change.
Mike Pappas for Congress, a conservative voice for Central Jersey taxpayers. Mike Pappas supports less government, lower taxes, and the balanced budget amendment. Mike Pappas is a solid voice for taxpayers. Pappas cut county tax rates in 9 of 12 years for a total tax cut of 14%. Mike Pappas improved county services, cracked down on welfare fraud, and protected more than 1,300 acres of open space. Republican, Mike Pappas for taxpayers. Mike Pappas for Congress.
When I need tires, I come to STS because they have the tire specialist.
Hello, Mr. Clark. How can we help you today?
Professor, can I replace the tires on my car with lower speed-rated tires?
We don't recommend it. Your car will not handle as well and not stop as quickly.
Thanks for the advice, Professor.
STS Tire and Auto Centers offer an unmatched level of service. You won't wait on us. We'll wait on you. STS, yes.
It's not that great. I mean, a 24-hour sports news network. Yeah, sure. Scores, highlights, breaking news. Who cares? Big deal. People act like this is the second coming or something. People say, are you going to be on ESPN News? Nope. No way. Apparently, I don't fit into their little schedule. I need a new agent.
Here's the roll call. Best rushing teams last weekend. Ahead of Nebraska, Army. The most ever yards rushed against a 1A opponent. Did it against Rutgers. All kinds of guys getting in there. Demetrius Perry, the backup fullback. They use kind of the Braveheart military theory, guys. They just throw human waves of people at you. 8 guys get 25 yards a game or more. Nobody averages more than 79 yards. That's Adam Thompson, the backup quarterback there. Joe Hewitt came back from a concussion. And the bad news, Ryan Makeda, the starting quarterback, is coming back after an ankle injury. Saturday, all the leaves are turning. The long gray column filing in the Mikey Stadium on the bank of the Hudson. Bina would love this. Army is undefeated. They go for the first 5-0 start since 1950 when Tulane comes calling. Army inching toward the top 25. Not ranked since '88. They are 32nd right now. Meanwhile, the team that's taken really out of the running for the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, at least as far as an outright win. Air Force visits Notre Dame, and Lou Holtz is talking up that Air Force option, which Navy shut down.
Well, last week, Notre Dame got back to what they do best. They scrapped the Blarney offense and came out and established a running game, blooding, really, Washington's defense. 397 yards on the ground, and that's the key to Notre Dame's success. The other thing, last year, they did a nice job against Air Force's quarterback, Bo Morgan. They continued to put a defensive player in his face, so if he's on the option, you have somebody in his face. If he's dropping back on play action, get somebody in his face because he's really their offense. When he goes, they got a great chance, but I think Notre Dame wins big, physical beating this weekend.
The Blarney offense replaced by the Barney offense, as in dinosaur, just old-fashioned power ball. At the start of the season, Gene Stallings thought he might have a defense to compare to the '92 national championship team. Now, though, 2 would-be starters are out for the season with injuries. 2 more are nicked up and questionable for Saturday's visit by Ole Miss. There's a heap of grumbling by Tide fans who get mad whenever the opponent gets a first down. And NC State, with a freshman quarterback making his first start, made him look pretty bad on defense.
Pretty bad is right. Last week, NC State had 418 yards total offense. 260 of those yards were passing, and they scored 19 points. Now, those stats might not be important this week against Ole Miss, but you guys mark this down. Tennessee will study that tape over and over again, and on October 26th, very important tape for Tennessee.
Peyton Manning.
Bama will play better defense when they play Tennessee, though. They will bring it up a notch. Coming up, the paid consultant is ready. Lee Corso will tell any Gator opponent their best chance of slowing down the fun and gun offense of Steve Spurrier. But also talk about Arizona State. What do they have to do, USC, to stay in the game with the Sun Devils?
Silver bullet is shipped cold to tap the clean taste of the Rockies. Good boy. The new Coors Light Wide Mouth can is here with a giant opening for a smoother pour.
Fastest man in football in action. Okay, Rocket, show us how easy it is to dial 1-800-COLLECT.
I just did it.
Did what?
Dialed 1-800-COLLECT.
You did?
Can we go to replay? 1-800-COLLECT. It's fast, it's easy, it saves.
Where can you get big savings on the best paint money can buy? At Sherwin-Williams, where this Thursday through Sunday, you'll save 30% on everything in the store.
Sherwin-Williams, where to get it?
It's another action-packed season in the NBA, so get a jump with ESPN Magazine Pro Basketball 96. Give it a spin and see what's up with the new look Knicks, the NBA's Kitty Core. Then, can anyone stop the running of the Bulls? Check out the free agent frenzy, 12 guys to watch, and Morning in Miami. Meet Mr. Super Agent and the next great superstar. You'll get nothing but net in ESPN Pro Basketball 96 on newsstands October 22nd.
On November 1st, ESPN puts a whole new spin on sports news. We're proud to announce the launch of ESPN News, television's most comprehensive sports news service. Up to the minute reports on all the breaking news from the world of sports. Call your local cable operator or satellite provider for ESPN News, debuting November 1st. Back now to the 2 title contenders who are being tested this week. Try to give some teams some friendly advice. The last guy who tried to give clinics on how to stop Florida's offense, Carl Reese, it got Spurrier's blood up and LSU got whacked. But you are undaunted, Lee. What do you have to do to have any shot against Florida?
Well, first of all, you got to remember one thing. Florida's averaging 52 points a game, so you don't try to stop them. You try to contain them, so you pick your poison. If you play man for man, it's like playing with strychnine. It's like taking it. Boop. You die quickly, real fast. If you play zones, it's like arsenic. Maybe you die, but you die real slow. And if you can get Steve Spurrier panicking, then you got a chance to maybe beat him. That's the only way. First of all, you play 4 linemen, 3 linebackers, and 4 backs, and you keep everything in front of you, just like they are. Notice their nice little umbrella. Then you take the linebackers, they step forward to stop the run, then they drop into the field, and they divide the field with the corners into 5 equal parts and play zone with 2 deep. Now, the weakness of that defense, I'm not stupid, is up to the outside, into the middle, and the outside. So what you do on a snap of the ball with the key is you rotate your secondary to protect it, and you give him the sideline to the weak side. Now, the situation is you make Danny Werfel throw the ball outside. You make Danny Werfel throw the ball either way on a snap. It's the only way I think you got a chance to slow these guys down. They're too good.
Make him be patient.
Make him be patient.
I didn't know you were such an expert on poison. All those long seasons at Indiana, huh? Speaking of the venomous offense of Arizona State, what's the key to trying to slow them down?
Well, Arizona State, I think, is, as Coach mentioned back in July in ESPN magazine, they're really the Northwestern this year, the Cinderella story. Great team chemistry, a workmanlike attitude, but one of the stats that's been very impressive and really has worked to their favor is the red zone. Take a look at these numbers and take a look at Jake the Snake Plummer. 21 times inside the 21-yard line, 21 scores. 18 touchdowns, 3 field goals, and Jake Plummer just takes it up a notch in there. 9 touchdown passes. He's run for 2. He's caught 1. For USC, really this weekend, going in on the road, they have got to be able to take advantage that when Arizona State gets into that red zone, they really crank up the defense and try and slow them down because they've been so effective, the best in the entire country.
Great record.
That is absolutely remarkable, that
Only
red zone.
one
that they
sack,
have.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Coming up, the long-awaited upset specials. Stick around. Can Lee Corso continue his hot streak? We'll find out.
Computers in Silicon Valley have a model number on them, and that's it. At Gateway 2000, our custom-built computers are treated a little differently. That's because every system we build has a name attached.
Connie Kramer, Connie from New Jersey. This is your computer and it's on television.
Gateway computers feature the Intel Pentium processor. And the only way to get them is to call 1-800-GATEWAY. You get a friend in the business, give us a call.
Call it strength. One of the world's largest insurance and investment groups. Call it trust. $300 billion in assets under management. Call it global. 56,000 people working hands-on in 23 countries. Call it vision. Give clients an even better chance in a changing world.
Call it AXA. Here you know us as the Equitable. AXA. Go ahead. You can rely on us.
Where do you turn for college football's most complete Saturday preview show? The best in the game. Chris Fowler, Lee Corso, and Kirk Herbstreit bring you the inside scoop on the day's biggest games. College Game Day, Saturday at 11:30, only on ESPN.
ESPN's Game Plan, your pay subscription guide for Saturday, October 19th. If the game you want to see is not being shown in your region on ABC, it may be available on pay subscription. Starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, the East and West will see USC travel to Tempe to take on the 4th-ranked Sun Devils over the air on ABC. The second-ranked Buckeyes take on the Boilermakers at Purdue in parts of the Northeast and Midwest on your ABC affiliate. The Southwest will see the defending national champion Cornhuskers travel to Texas Tech to take on the Red Raiders over the air on ABC. The 22nd-ranked Yellow Jackets will try and touch the rock as they take on the Tigers of Clemson in the South on your ABC affiliate. These additional 4 games are also available on the ESPN Game Plan. Your college football Saturday is covered. Not all games are available in all areas. Call your local cable operator or DirecTV for details. Or pick up Friday's USA Today for details about the ESPN Game Plan.
Upset special time. Mr. Corso with his Act Fast special a week ago. Southern Miss, the outright win over East Carolina.
Thursday night.
Mine was Boston College. You didn't give me time to say. We ran out of time. Boston College beat Cincinnati.
Okay.
But now, Lee, I want your 4-star platinum Pac-10 play of the year. Just give it away to the people.
Before you have any excuses, give me yours first.
This week?
Yeah.
You're going to save time.
No, I'm going to give you. Come on, let's go.
I like Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's got momentum now. I say they beat Baylor. I'm going to go against Cincinnati again. We'll give Houston a small dog. The Platinum 4-star Conference USA play of the year.
All right, Arizona State's talking about Nebraska and UCLA, and they got to play USC. I like USC to upset Arizona State.
I like that one, but it's not going to happen. Mine is going to be this week. I think I have to talk about Northwestern and Wisconsin. Wisconsin came out of the gate, and they had Penn State and Ohio State, lost both games. How will they respond coming back home against a good Northwestern team? And maybe after Northwestern wins this game, they'll finally get the respect and actually be a favorite. It's unbelievable.
Will they? Will you finally give them respect if they beat Wisconsin?
Will you give them? You're going to get beat by 2 touchdowns.